Welcome to Lost Wilderness. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe. New scary stories are posted regularly, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from, whether you're driving, working, or alone at night. Now, let's begin. The park always felt different after midnight. During the day, it was harmless. Families pushing strollers, joggers circling the gravel paths, kids climbing the old wooden play structure near the pond. But once the sun dropped behind the hills and the last dog walkers drifted home, the place became something else entirely. Quieter. Too quiet. My apartment sat only 2 blocks away, and for years I had taken late-night walks through the park when I couldn't sleep. It helped clear my head. The city lights didn't quite reach the far side of the park, and once you stepped past the first few street lamps, the world seemed to shrink into a narrow tunnel of darkness and shadows. That night, sometime around 12:40 a.m., I stepped through the iron gate and onto the main path. The air was cool and still. Leaves rustled faintly above me, and the distant hum of traffic drifted over the treetops like a low electrical buzz. Otherwise, the park was empty, or at least it seemed empty. I followed the path past the basketball courts first. The lights there had already shut off for the night, leaving the cracked asphalt court barely visible in the dim glow of the moon. Then the path curved toward the pond. Halfway there, I heard footsteps, not behind me, ahead. I slowed. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, I stood perfectly still, listening. Nothing. Just the faint rustle of branches and the slow lapping of water from the pond somewhere in the darkness. I told myself it was probably another late walker, maybe someone heading home the same way I was. I continued forward. The path dipped slightly as it approached the pond. A row of tall trees blocked most of the moonlight here, and the park lights had been broken for months. The city had put orange cones around the base of the lampposts, but never replaced the bulbs, so the whole area stayed dark. As I passed the first bench near the water, I saw someone standing on the far side of the path. A man. He was standing very still beneath one of the broken lampposts. At first I assumed he had been there the entire time, and I just hadn't noticed him. But something about the way he stood felt wrong. His posture was stiff, almost unnatural. His arms hung loosely at his sides, but his shoulders were angled slightly forward, like he had been leaning toward the path before I came around the bend, and he was staring at me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could feel it, that heavy, focused attention. I gave a small nod as I passed him, the silent acknowledgement people give strangers late at night. He didn't move, didn't nod back, didn't even shift his weight. He just watched me walk by. And when I reached the next bend in the path, I glanced back over my shoulder. The place where he had been standing was empty. I stopped walking. For a second, I genuinely thought I had imagined him. But then I heard it. Footsteps, fast, coming from behind me. The sound hit the gravel path in rapid bursts. Crunch, 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 echoing sharply through the empty park. Someone was running, directly toward me. I turned. The man was sprinting down the path. His body leaned forward as he ran, arms pumping violently at his sides. Even in the darkness, I could see how fast he was closing the distance. There was no hesitation, no confusion. He wasn't jogging, he wasn't exercising, he was chasing me. My brain locked up for half a second before instinct finally kicked in. I ran. The gravel path curved away from the pond and cut through a grove of tall oak trees. Their branches formed a dense canopy overhead, swallowing what little moonlight reached the ground. The darkness there felt thick, almost suffocating. I could hear him behind me, still running. His footsteps never slowed. If anything, they were getting louder. I veered off the main path, darting toward the playground area. The soft rubber surface there would muffle the sound of my footsteps. Maybe I could hide. Maybe I could lose him in the darkness. I sprinted past the swing set, my lungs burning as I pushed deeper into the park. The metal chains of the swings rattled slightly as I brushed past them. Behind me, the running stopped. For a moment, the park fell silent again. I ducked behind the play structure and crouched low, trying to slow my breathing. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain he could hear it. Seconds passed. Then a voice drifted across the park. "Where did you go?" The voice sounded calm, too calm, almost curious, not angry, not panicked, just patient, like someone who already knew the answer. My stomach twisted. I slowly peeked around the edge of the play structure. The man stood near the path, his silhouette barely visible in the dim glow of the moon. He wasn't searching frantically. He wasn't scanning the area. He was simply standing there, listening. Then he turned his head slightly and looked directly toward the playground. Toward me. The moment his head turned, I knew he had seen me. Or worse, he had known exactly where I was the entire time. He began walking toward the playground, not running this time, walking slowly, deliberately. Each step crunched softly against the gravel before transitioning onto the rubber playground surface. My body felt frozen in place. Every instinct screamed at me to run again, but my legs refused to move. He stepped closer, closer, until I could finally see his face. It was blank. No anger, no emotion, just a thin, unsettling smile stretched across his lips. "You shouldn't be here this late," he said quietly. His voice sounded almost gentle, like someone giving friendly advice. But the way his eyes locked onto mine made my skin crawl. I bolted. I sprinted past the slide and toward the far exit of the park, where a narrow walkway led back to the street. Behind me, his footsteps exploded into motion again. Running, faster than before. The walkway seemed miles away. My lungs burned. My legs felt like they were about to collapse beneath me. I risked one quick glance over my shoulder. He was only 10 feet behind me, still smiling, still running. I burst through the park gate and stumbled onto the sidewalk just as a car turned the corner, its headlights flooding the street with blinding white light. I waved my arms frantically. The car slowed. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. When I turned back toward the park entrance, the path was empty. The man was gone. The driver rolled down the window. "Are you okay?" she asked. I nodded quickly, trying to steady my breathing. But even as I climbed into the car, I couldn't stop staring back at the park, because deep in the darkness between the trees, just beyond the broken lampposts, I could still see someone standing there, watching, waiting, like he knew I would eventually come back. I didn't sleep that night. Not even close. The woman who picked me up drove me 3 blocks before I finally told her where my apartment building was. I kept looking through the rear window the entire time, half expecting to see the man sprinting down the street behind us. But the road stayed empty. The moment I got inside my apartment, I locked the door, flipped on every light, and stood in the middle of the living room trying to steady my breathing. My hands were still shaking. The entire situation replayed in my mind again and again. The way he appeared near the pond, the way he vanished when I looked back, the sound of him running, and that smile, that calm, patient smile while he chased me through the park. I kept telling myself the same thing over and over. He probably left. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he thought it was funny to scare someone. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Nothing about the way he moved felt random. It felt planned, like he had been waiting there. For me, I barely slept. Every small sound outside the building made my chest tighten. Around 6 a.m., the sky finally started to brighten. Morning traffic picked up on the street below my window. People walked dogs along the sidewalk. Someone down the hall slammed their door. Normal life slowly returned, and for a moment, I started to believe the whole thing was just a terrifying coincidence. Until that night, I promised myself I wouldn't go back to the park. But around 11:30 p.m., curiosity got the better of me. I told myself I just needed to see the place again during the day. Prove to myself it was nothing. The park looked exactly the same. The pond, the broken lamp posts, the playground, all of it quiet and harmless under the afternoon sun. I walked the same path. Nothing happened. No man, no footsteps, no feeling of being watched. By the time evening came, I had convinced myself the entire thing had been blown out of proportion in my head. So the next night, I went back. The park gate creaked softly as I pushed it open again. It was later this time, nearly 1 a.m. The streets were empty, and the park felt even darker than the night before. For the first few minutes, everything seemed normal. The basketball court sat empty. The trees rustled softly in the breeze, and the path stretched ahead of me like a dark tunnel between the branches. But something felt wrong. Not immediately, just a faint uneasiness. Like the air itself had changed. I kept walking. When I reached the pond again, I slowed down. The bench where I had first seen the man sat empty. The broken lamp post above it flickered faintly, casting weak light across the path. I scanned the trees. Nothing. No movement. No footsteps. For a second, I almost laughed at myself. Then the lamp flickered again and went out. The entire path dropped into darkness. My stomach tightened. I stood still, letting my eyes adjust. That's when I noticed something on the far side of the pond. A silhouette, standing between the trees. Completely motionless. The same height. The same shape. My heart dropped. The man stepped forward into the moonlight, and even from across the pond, I could see the same thin smile on his face. He raised one hand slowly and waved. I ran before my brain even finished processing what I had seen. My shoes slammed against the gravel path as I sprinted back toward the park entrance. Behind me, I heard the same sound as the night before. Running. Fast. Closer than before. I cut through the playground again, my lungs burning as I pushed toward the street exit. But halfway across the park, I saw something that made me stop cold. Someone else stood on the path ahead of me. Another man, tall, standing perfectly still, just like the first one had been. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then the footsteps behind me stopped. Slowly, I turned around. The first man stood only 20 feet away now, still smiling, still calm. And now there were two of them. The man in front of me tilted his head slightly, almost curious, almost amused. Then the first man spoke again, the same quiet voice. "You came back." My legs finally kicked back into motion. I bolted toward the playground fence, climbing over it without even looking back. Branches scraped my arms as I crashed through the bushes on the other side. I didn't stop running until I reached the street. When I finally turned around, the park entrance stood empty. No one followed. No one appeared between the trees. But for the rest of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were still in there, standing somewhere in the dark, waiting to see if I'd come back again. Thank you for spending your time with Lost Wilderness. If you enjoy slow, immersive horror stories, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Wherever you're listening from, have a safe night.